Okay, I just want to say something really quickly to women who have this kind of mindset and thought process because we talk about toxic masculinity a lot, but we don't talk a lot about toxic femininity. So women have just as many toxic traits as men, but it's not equally discussed. Because, of course, if you are a woman like this who says Michael B. Jordan is cute but doesn't have any edge, he just looked, I don't know, responsible. He looked like he know where his birth certificate is at. Well, I think adults should know where their birth certificate is, no matter the gender. And not to mention, this just goes to show you that women sometimes like to play the victim about their romantic circumstances, but this is a testament that most women are choosing very poor dating options very frequently. So you may say, oh, he did this, oh, he had a wife and he was cool. You really need to say, you need to be realistic and honest with yourself and say that I love bad habits. I love poor characteristics as long as it looks cool, as long as it's nice and appealing and feels rough and on edge. It means something. I feel like toxic femininity is a problem not equally discussed.
Give it up for this lady here. She really put it down. She put it down. What else can you say? We really have to be honest here. If we're looking at the outcomes that are coming in our community on a regular basis, it has a lot to do with this very factor right here. And I know, the Michael B. Jordan story has been done to death, but it's true. These women were freely given this information. This is what I say about the internet now, social media. Social media is the biggest wellspring of information, volunteer polls and surveys. You get a wide swath of people's feeling about a certain topic. And sometimes they tell on themselves. And thanks to ladies like this who are confirming the fact of what we've always believed, that a lot of women are making bad decisions. And they're making these bad decisions on purpose,
I feel like toxic femininity is a problem not equally discussed.
Toxic femininity rarely ever, if ever, gets talked about. But somehow, when anything goes on with a man, it's toxic masculinity. When are we going to talk about toxic femininity? When are we going to get down to the bottom of this and understand? Because unless we do, we're not going to ever change our circumstances. If you all are happy with how things are, then fine, you don't have to change anything. But if you're still getting the same result over and over and over again, that's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We've got that. Somebody responsible who knows exactly where his birth certificate is. Well, that person, I don't even understand why that's a bad thing. Maybe call me corny, but I don't even understand why that's a bad thing. That he knows where his birth certificate is. He knows where his birth certificate is so he could easily get to his passport. He can renew his passport? No. Anyway, that was a bad joke. She's really calling them out, and I appreciate her. We need more women like this to sound the alarm on what is really happening out here and why things are ending up the way it is. We got a single mother epidemic. We got so many single families right now. We got boys and girls being raised without their fathers in the home. And we wonder why. Because these choices are being made. So you're not going to pick a responsible man to be the father of your children? What part of the game is that? What part of the game is I get to go out in the streets and do whatever I want, and then when I get stuck high and dry, it's all of y'all fault. Well, a lot of us men that haven't been out here being irresponsible are tired of taking responsibility for the ones that haven't been responsible. You understand? And I think we're going to see a shift in the coming months, in the coming years. And It's going to get bad. It's going to get bad out here, man.
Okay, I just want to say something really quickly to women who have this kind of mindset and thought process because we talk about toxic masculinity a lot, but we don't talk a lot about toxic femininity. So women have just as many toxic traits as men, but it's not equally discussed because, of course.
And I'm glad she's saying it because, a lot of times people think we're tripping when we want to point that fact out, when we want to point the obvious fact out, that it ain't just one party doing everything. You can't call everybody dusty. You can't call everybody broke and dusty and irresponsible.
Of course, if you are a woman like this who says Michael B. Jordan is cute but doesn't have any edge, he just looked, I don't know, responsible. He looked like he know where his birth certificate is at. Well,
that sentence was irresponsible.
I think adults should know where their birth certificate is, no matter the gender. And not to mention, this just goes to show you that women sometimes like to play the victim about their romantic circumstances.
The victim card. How many times do we hear that about their romantic circumstances? I can't find a good man. There aren't any good men around. There's so many, but you weren't looking for a responsible man. Were you looking for a responsible man? Were you looking for somebody with edge? You know what I mean? Like this is the problem. Or were you looking for Mr. Perfect? That's the other problem. If you're looking for one man that holds every characteristic that you could ever want, you're living in a fantasy. He might not be tall, but he might be well paid. He might be loyal. Like he might know what his birth certificate is. This is my thing. There's no compromise here. It's total irresponsibility.
But this is a testament that most women are choosing very poor dating options very frequently. So
yes. And then they come to the internet and complain about it. Because we've said it time and time again that women are in charge of this thing. Women are selecting the men that they're dating. Believe it or not. It's not like a bunch of guys are sitting around taking applications on women, Of course, there are a few that are getting chose, but we're not sitting around like basically picking. That's the rarity. That's the minority of men. But most women, even average women, are basically doing the selecting. So then why aren't they responsible for the outcomes that are coming out? Why aren't they responsible for the bad relationships over and over and over again that they're experiencing? Why aren't they? I'll tell you why. We've been too easy on them. As a society, not even as men, as a society, a lot of their shortcomings, though they may feel they're going through the most oppression, they don't know what oppression is in a lot of cases. We always talk about that study of the woman who changed her gender to man and couldn't take it. So much so she had to delete herself. There's so much men struggle through and we don't say anything about it. It'll make your mind explode. The problem is, with the more equality we get, the more of these conversations we're going to start to have,
You may say, oh, he did this, oh, he had a wife and he was cool. You really need to say, you need to be realistic and honest with yourself and say that I love bad habits. I love poor characteristics as long as it looks cool.
Bad habits and poor characteristics. How many women do you know are choosing on that criteria alone? What other people would think is a bad habit or a bad characteristic, being a scammer or a drug dealer or, somebody just out here. We've totally flipped things on its head. There was a time where the street dudes, they respected what the working 9-to-5 man was doing. They protected their community in that way. They were like, nah, don't mess with him. He's got a future. That's a schoolboy right there. That's a basketball player right there. That's a football star right there. What happened to that? And they wonder why when guys get there, when Michael B. Jordan gets to that level, he wants to enact retribution. You're fighting so much going forward. And then when you get that opportunity to say how you feel and what you've been through, there's hell to pay. But anyway, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification for all uploads. This is Faucette Media.